GOAT, greatest of all time, is someone who is considered the best ever, and in GD there have been many cases of people being inarguably the best in the game. While you could argue that there can only be one GOAT, and this ranking doesn't make any sense, I would argue that technically the best player at any point is the GOAT, since levels get harder over time. Basically, I'm just going to tell you who the GOAT was at any given time, and rank them based on just how good they were/are when you take into account a difficulty inflation. So first of all, in the very early stages of the game, there wasn't really the same culture of hardest levels, GOATs necessarily. The closest thing to that was the in-game leaderboards, I suppose, but a decent portion of them were hackers, and a lot of them came and went. So maybe some OG players will get mad at this. Feel free to comment, because I might be wrong here, but I'll just put Lunar Simg and PG 1004 here as the first GOATs. Lunar Simg being a prominent star grinder and beating/verifying many hard levels for their time, just Fake a Doom and Deadly Clubstep. Of course, taking the number one spot here for now. PG 1004 was a prominent star grinder in the pre-1.9 era, with him being well known for creating and verifying PG Clubstep, and I'll put him at 2, just underneath Lunar Sim. And I'll just move on to 1.9 here. In early 2015, I would argue the GOAT was Zobros. He created and verified 9 Circles and Acropolis, both exceptionally difficult for their time, with Acropolis even being the hardest legitimately verified level in the game back then. He also then verified Alphabet X, also the hardest verified level in the game for its time. With this clear dominance for a brief yet very real period of time, this gives Zobros the number 1 spot. The next GOAT is certainly a tough choice, with it, in my opinion, being one of the early Cataclysm victor. The actual verifier, so to speak, was Gyron. But people like Riot also beat other levels like ICDX as well. I was going to declare Gyron a former GOAT, but I believe simply due to Riot being the third victor of Cataclysm and also beating ICDX at this time, that he is the GOAT. And he is definitely the new number 1 here, as he also, verified Bloodbath months later. The literal most popular extreme demon of all time, along with it being very hard for its time. Then, the person to dethrone Riot would be Kermal, which might be controversial, but to me, it's clear. Kermal verified a level harder than Bloodbath on 60Hz. Phobos, of course, for the time, being the hardest in the game. And also Conical Depression, which was the top 2. I would put Kermal in the number 1 spot, as he verified the number 1 demon on 60Hz, when most others at the top were on 144Hz. After this, Blast CFB would rise to prominence by not only verifying Acropolis, number 1 at the time, but he would beat the entire top 11 on the Demonist as well. He'll definitely be the new number 1 here. I would say that the new GOAT wouldn't really emerge until Sonic Wave was verified by a certain Sonix. Not only would he verify Sonic Wave, but he would also go on to dominate the Demon List like no one else before him. He would end up beating the entire top 25, and he would later be 1 level away from the entire top 50. Not to mention he verified 2 number 1s, that being Sonic Wave and Death Carter Z, and maybe Athanatos, if you consider that. So, I would yet again put this guy at 1. Sonix would beat Plasma Pulse finale, and then slowly become less active, still beating Bloodlust when it came out. But that would just be the end of his reign. During the time in and around PPF, I'd say that there was a brief period in which Diamond Splash was the GOAT. Diamond Splash beat the entire top 10, put him above Kermal and beneath Sonix. The next GOAT is Shirley Wushi, who, while you could argue was the GOAT earlier, definitely was going into 2018, with his Crimson Planet verification truly being the highlight, as it was a number 1 verification. He was also pretty dominant for a long time, even being the first person to ever be number 1 on the point and crate stats viewer, which is certainly quite an achievement. I'll put Wushi above Kermal, but beneath Diamond Splash. I don't think anyone quite owned the Demon List for a while, until Technical not only beat Bloodlust, but also verified Zodiac. He then rose to number 1 on the stats viewer, and would beat many top 10s and main lists in general from Witch of 2019. Technical was certainly good, but maybe not quite as good as Blast CFB or Sonic, so put him at 3. 2020 was quite the resurgence when it came to top play. Many would swap GOAT status. In the beginning, I feel Dolphy would start 2020 with a bang, verifying Tartarus as a new number 1. Dolphy was a good player, but not one of the all-time greats by any means. So I guess I'll put Dolphy above Kermal. I would say that Brian the Burger would have a short reign as GOAT, with him beating the entire top 5. Certainly a strong player. I put him above Dolphy and beneath Wushi. Then, Enswish attacked. This guy was insane. He would verify the Golden, and of course become the first person to ever beat the entire top 75, the main list. This shoots him right up to 1. Of course, after Enswish pretty much stopped activity, the first person to dethrone him from number 1 on the stats viewer would be RG, so I guess I'll put him as the next GOAT. RG beat the number 1 Tartarus and a few other top 10s, definitely making him a strong player and the GOAT. I'll put him just underneath Dolphy. Up next is Crisis, who was very, very skilled. He beat the entire top 18 in 2021, and being essentially number 1 of the stats viewer, excluding Space UK, this guy was an absolute powerhouse. I think he definitely deserves number 3 just beneath Sonix. I think Wolves would be considered the GOAT during Witcher 2021. He beat many top 10s quickly, even nearly verifying Acheron, but he couldn't due to medical problems. I think I'll put him right above Wushi. Now, the next GOAT to me is Doggy. Of course, the verifier of Slaughterhouse, and he has and still is, been a generally strong player for many years, from 2020 all the way to modern day. I think he deserves a spot right above Diamond Splash. Now while you may think that there are many ghosts left, surprisingly, we've arrived at the last one. You probably know him. It's Zoink! There's a lot to say here. First of all, he was the first victor of Slaughterhouse. Not too long after jumping from Bloodbath to Zodiac, he'd not only become the second person to ever complete the entire main list, but he also verified 1, 2, 3, and 4 number 1 demons. And he is still the best today. I guess you could argue that Trick took over when Zoink took a break, but I don't think that really counts as being better, just because he was top of the stat sphere for a bit. So yeah, this might be controversial, but I'll end this video with Zoink top of the list here.